Your voice of the Valley, AM 1450 KBMW. Turner Bluff is here on a Friday afternoon. It is time for your Snap Spotlight, brought to you by Snap Fitness in Wapton, your locally owned gym in Wapton. Joined by a very special guest today, head coach of the Breckenridge Cowgirls basketball team, Austin Mdeck. How's it going today?
Good. How are you doing, Turner?
I am fantastic. We are in for a bit of a bittersweet discussion. I hear you have some big life news. Would you like to tell the listeners so I'm not the one upsetting all the Cowgirl fans?
Yeah, right. If you haven't heard already, I will be resigning my position as the girls basketball coach here in Breckenridge, and my wife and I have just decided to move on and get closer to family. So this will be my final year donning the Kelly Green.
Oh, that's very tough news. 5 years with the program. How did the girls take the news when you broke it to them?
Yeah, it was kind of tough for everybody, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing for me. It's not like I'm leaving on bad terms or upset or this or that. I've truly, really enjoyed my time in Breckenridge, and very thankful for the opportunities. And the girls were, I think they were maybe not expecting it or kind of surprised. It was an emotional kind of player-coach meeting where some were upset. I mean, maybe some are happy to see me go. Who knows? I don't know. But
they offered to help you pack?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, we'll be at your front door, Coach. But yeah, it was tough. It was an emotional kind of meeting with them. But as is life.
How old were you when you got hired again? I'm trying to remember. Gosh, we're old.
I was 23.
23, yeah. And I do you remember our meeting when we got to do our first interview?
Absolutely.
In
the high school conference room. Yeah.
I told Freddie, don't tell him it's me, because Austin and I actually went to college together. So I said, don't tell him it's me doing the interview.
Yeah, one of two people I knew coming to town.
And you spent 5 years with the program, like I said, ended with a record of 71-52 over the 5-year stretch, at least one playoff win in 4 of the 5 years, and a winning record in 4 out of the 5 years as well. What do you think that says about the consistency of the program since you took the reins?
Yeah, and I think that's one word that, myself and the coaching staff over the 5 years have kind of looked for, bring some consistency to the program. And I don't think we never hit that ultimate goal of trying to, reach a state tournament like every team is trying to do every single year. We knocked on the door a couple years and made our couple runs for sure. And in 2-3 of those years, we were a threat, I feel like, almost every single year. So from year one to this last year of year 5 of mine in my tenure, we were competitive. We competed every single night, every single game. Girls worked hard in practice, and I think the biggest thing is that first group, they bought in right away. I think that's a thing. Heck, there's a 23-year-old guy coming in here. We don't know who this is. What the heck, But I'll give them credit. There was none of that. My big message was buy in. I think that was probably my 2 words that first year of, terminology is going to be different. Things we do are going to be different. The way we run our offense, our defense is going to be different, but buy in. I'll promise you it's going to work out if we buy in and we do this thing together. And overall, pretty solid success.
The program made strides. Talk about some strides that you think you made personally from your first year being just a baby-faced 23-year-old all the way to now.
No, man.
Grizzled old veteran.
Yeah. I'm still learning every single day. I think that's the cool part about this job of teaching and coaching, that you invest in learning every single day with the kids. And you just learn the behind the scenes stuff, I think, and the consistency there of being, communicating and letting kids know what the summer plan is, and fundraising and making schedules and scheduling gym time and working with your athletic director and all of those things. That it's not just practice and showing up to games. I think a lot of people really kind of think that. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes for the coaches, for the administration, for the players. There's a lot of time dedicated to their sports, and that's why small towns are so cool too, that you get 3 sport athletes. You share that common bond in multiple sports with different coaches. And I think my probably biggest area of growth, or the most surprising thing, was all of that communication you need to do, time management. Coach Bogenreef's going to listen to this and go, yeah, that's why I was at the gym every single time first, opening it up. And I said, well, that's your role as an assistant. Pick up some of that. I got to delegate. But I think those are some of the biggest things, because kids are relying on you, right? You're the person they're looking for. You're the guy in charge each and every time, and it doesn't really have an off day.
And Bogey's been there for the whole ride, all 5 years that you've been here. You've had him on the staff and as an assistant. And describe your relationship with him. And I gotta say, it seems I had Bogey as my JV coach, and it seems like you kind of unlocked an extra gear for Bogey. This is a different Bogey than the one I had as a coach.
Yeah, better or for worse?
I'll let you decide. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I think he's grown a lot as a coach.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope so. I think well, let's start with this. Tony Bougainville to me and to my wife, Courtney, and the Bougainville family has been a godsend. I mean, they have done so much for us just outside of coaching, making us feel welcome in the community, helping us out with whatever it might be any given time. I mean, I can't say enough things about Tony and his wife, Brittany, and the family and the kids that they're raising. And coming into this thing, being 23-year-olds, like you were saying, it's like, who the heck am I going to have on staff? Because I know I can't do this by myself. I knew that coming in. That's one of the biggest things that I learned as an assistant coach beforehand, that, you know, everyone does play a big role on the staff. And him getting hired back to Breckenridge and coming home was huge for the program and for me. You know, he's just a consistent guy. He's a relationship guy. The kids love him. Brings the kids into the gym with them and just brings that family atmosphere that I think the players really love and that I really enjoy too. And just an overall good guy that works hard, puts in the time, got his family at home, but still is watching film and, hey, coach, check out this new set I saw. And drawn up, chalk talking on the board, and just all those countless hours that we've spent the last few years. I could talk about Tony for probably all of this whole segment the rest of the time. He means that much.
Let's treat some of the next few questions like a greatest hits album. You know, the only upside of you only being here for 5 years is we don't got a whole lot of years to run through. We can't cover 20 years, but we can go year by year. Let's first talk about your first year. Like you talked about the girls buying in. You had a really nice group of experienced seniors to build around. I think there were a few of them were 4-year contributors. And how big was that for you to come into a group of already established seniors, and then you guys went 15-11 on the year and made a trip to the section semis?
Well, it's huge. Like you said, that veteran, having kids that have been there, right? Having seniors that have that experience, and through those hard times, basketball game, there's always a game of runs, right? You hear that cliche, and generally I want to look at the NCAA tournament right now. I want those veteran guards. I want those veteran players that have been there before, been in the trenches, and have learned from those experiences already, because that's the only way you do learn is from that experience. So having 5 seniors that first year, Ashton Kaler, who ended up being an assistant coach, Chase Yagi, Carly Visner, Lauren Johnson, Nina Jirak, they all came in and bought in, like I was just saying earlier, and I think that was a big thing. And that trickled down to the juniors, to the sophomores, who we'll all cover. But we had a couple, girls that had some young talent that combined well with that senior class. And when I came here, it was like, oh man, coach, you got a lot of work to do. And that first day when I come to the gym in the summer, and the first day or two, and get to see these girls play, I was like, the cabinets are not bare. Right? I like the talent in this gym right now, and I can definitely work with this. I was really excited. And as that season progressed and we played pretty well and took our learning curves and bumps and bruises along the season, but I remember a couple different coaches saying, you're one of the best ball screen teams that we've played. I mean, those girls were just physical and played really hard. It was fun to coach because they played so hard. And then we made a really good run. We lost to Holly twice in the regular season and beat them in the quarterfinals at Concordia. That's a game that'll always stand out to me. Back and forth, tough game. And they had the Crabtree sisters. They had Paige Thompson, who went on to play Division II at Moorhead. They had a really talented team with a well-respected coach who has been doing it for 20, 30 years, a really long time. So that was a really cool win. And then going on to play Roseau that next game in the section semis, who had 2 Division I products in the Bravich sisters. And didn't come away with a win in that one and give ourselves to play for a state berth, but gave them a run. Played a tough game with them, and there's a lot of talent on the court that night for sure.
That was a fun game. I remember that. And losing that senior group kind of put a lot of pressure on you in year 2. But you almost had a similar record. You guys were 15-12 on the year. Did have the first round playoff loss, but what can you tell me about that year that stood out to you? I'm sure, like I said, it was another challenging year. Other than you were kind of established, but now in year 2, it's like, okay, now it's bringing back the talent and working with that and improving it.
Right, and going back, I guess, real quick to that first year, is when you have the 5 seniors like that, now there's kind of some expectations that go with that too, a little bit, that, hey, we were returning a lot of varsity minutes played, so for me, there's kind of like that pressure that we got to do well right away, and we maybe record-wise we could have done a little bit better, but we made that run in playoffs and we're playing well when we needed to be. Going into year 2, I think it's whenever you graduate that many contributors from a team, everybody else got to step up and find that new role, and I think that took some time that year. Again, some young talent coming through, and then we had a couple really solid seniors that year with Riley Lorenz and Emma Elin. that both brought a lot of good things to the floor. Riley Lorenz was a really fun to coach. You know, long, could finish at the rim, shot the 3-ball well, could guard multiple positions. Emma shot the 3-ball really well, played a good guard role, wing role for us. And I think that year for me was like, all right, I've done this one time now. I've had this trial run. What do I want to fix? And I think it might have been almost the type of situation where like I overcorrected too many things and like could have just simplified things. Our playbook was like 90 pages long. It was too crazy. We're running too many sets, too many things. And I'll give the kids credit because they knew a ton of plays that year. It was like, geez, sometimes I forget what they are at practice and they know them better than I do. But I think that was one thing I realized from year 1 and 2 put together after that was like, hey, sometimes simple is the most effective, and don't overcomplicate things that don't need to be overcomplicated. And we bounced in the first round of playoffs that year. I think it was a tough draw. I remember going to Perham and playing Perham. We were 15-12 and ended up playing on the road. Never had a home game that year. And Perham's always a good team. You see them in the state tournament this year. So that's what I remember a year 2.
And then in year 3, you had arguably your 2 best players in their senior year that you got to coach, Grace Gonzemius and Jude Held. But you also had to navigate a pandemic. I don't think they gave you any research for that back in college. But what do you remember from that whirlwind of a season that saw the girls go 12-7 on the year?
Well, I guess I got to go back to year 2 again because I remember sitting in my hotel room down at the girls' state tournament because Bogey and I would go down there and, see the talent that's there and where do you need to bring your team? What level do they need to be at to play down here? And just networking with other coaches and things like that down there. It's always been fun and a tradition that I've kind of started since coaching. And that's when Rudy Gobert, now the Timberwolf, was touching all the mics, and that's kind of when I think of COVID starting. I was sitting in a hotel room down in the Twin Cities, and ended up, the state championship games got canceled that Saturday for the girls' tournament and sent everybody home. And then it was like, whoa, school gets canceled the next week, and it's like, whoa, this is real. What's going on? And then that carries into the next season, and we don't start that season until January, which is odd. We're usually going before Thanksgiving. It was a lot more than just basketball that year. I think that was the hard part. And I think that was the hardest part for the kids too, right? You're learning online, you're coming back. There's these tapes in the hallway saying you got to be on this side and that side. You're wiping down your desk, you're social distancing, you're wearing masks. It was crazy, right? It was completely uncharted territory. So I think just from an experience point too, I think long term I'll look back at that year as just a year of growth and different problems that you need to think on your feet and figure out. And we were successful on the court that year, coaching Grace and Jude. Those two left a big impact on this program and as me as a coach. Jude Held worked her butt off every single year being in that program. She's one of those kids that's just a definition of a gym rat. She was just so fun to coach because you tell her to jump and she'd say how high. It was one of those things that was just so special with that group. That group really got along together well. Grace Gonzemius, same thing. You have a tremendous athlete, a really good post player. She worked really hard on adding the 3-point shot to her game, and she did. She shot the ball pretty well her senior year and had some college offers and decided to go a different way. And now she's running track and field at UMary in Bismarck, so that's really cool to follow her Division II athletic career and academic career. And Jude, one thing I feel bad for that COVID year is Jude would have for sure had 1,000 points barring any injuries if it wasn't a shortened season. So that would have been a cool milestone for her to achieve that kind of gets taken away in some of those COVID things. And so much of that senior class got so many things taken away from them. And just the whole pandemic thing was just crazy that year.
Well, it'll be crazy to talk about 20 years from now, what we all went through.
No kidding.
And then your 4th year with the team, 12-13 on the year. Only time under 500, but only by 1 game. And the girls who were seniors on that team were freshmen when you got to Breckenridge. So what was that experience like to see their growth from the beginning of high school to the end?
Yeah, those girls that stuck it out, that Carsey Materi, Cameron Kaler, and Anna Erickson. Anna was a kid that going into her sophomore year, she's like, Coach, I don't want to play basketball anymore. Like, I'm just kind of done. And Bogey and I were like, no, come on. Like, we talked this out, reasons to stay out for hoops, and we eventually talked her into it. And one of the things she said at the end of her senior year was like, I'm so glad you guys didn't let me do that. And this is one of, a really good life experience for me, and I want to change these things for the world. That was like, we're not coaching X's and O's anymore. Like, we're coaching kids, right? And I think people forget that sometimes too, that we're we're hoping that these young girls turn into women as we coach them, and that they learn from these life experiences and they grow as adults and as human beings, not just basketball players, right? And that was one of those things that really stuck out to me with her. Having an impact like that's pretty cool, and I think that's why most teachers do it, right? At the end of the day, most of us coaches are teachers too at the end of the day, and we're teaching our sport at all times, and life skills through it. So that group, that's the year that's tough for me, Turner, to be honest with you. I thought that year maybe was our most potential. I thought Addie Twidwell, Cameron Kaler, you got a 1-2 punch in the post. Carsey at the wing, one of probably the best shooter I had in the program throughout all 5 years. Excluding maybe the freshman coming through right now that we'll talk about in a little bit. I think that Carsey's got to have her watch on those records because those girls will be coming for them. But Carsey is a phenomenal shooter. Cameron can do a little bit of everything. Anna was the best perimeter defender that I coached too during the time. So we just had really good players. Abby Johnson, who was on, almost want to wrap into that group because she got the obviously a senior this year, but she came up as an 8th grader and was a part of that first year roster. So that was a disappointing one for me. I thought that we were going to win some more games, and some injury bugs, some illness, some things that just didn't go our way, and that's just the way of sports. That's why you roll the ball out each game and play them. And I think that was kind of a reflection year for me too of don't overcomplicate things once again, and again, that's the way sports go sometimes. It's just how the cookie crumbles, and it wasn't anything about effort or anything like that. I thought the kids played hard the whole time, and if anything, it probably came down to me, and that's what's cool about sports, because you get to run it back. You have a lot of those returning players, and unfortunately for those seniors that year, we just didn't quite get it done like they did in the volleyball season, right? They were coming off such a great fall season, going to the state tournament for the first time in 40 years. That was something really cool for the community and obviously for the volleyball team themselves. And it was another learning opportunity for me too, because coming into that season, it's like you got to give the girls rest. They're coming off an extended fall season. How do you handle that? And I kind of set the tone of like, let's ease into things. Let's get going a couple days earlier and ease into it. Well, that kind of just set a tone of like, we can ease through practice or ease through things throughout the whole year. So that one kind of stuck out to me. And one of my more favorite groups to coach, though, was that season.
And now your final year this past season was highlighted by the breakout season by your freshman guards, Parker Yagi and Jonica Bernades. Cracked the top 10 ranking in the state, and you guys were 17-9 on the year. What are you going to remember most about this season?
Yeah, well, the theme here is I'm going back to the last season.
It all rolls together. It rolls together.
We ranked top 25 in that preseason ranking in the season before, and then obviously things just didn't go our way. But so this year when we were ranked preseason again and getting into the top 10s as we were rolling into the season, I didn't bring it up to the girls until we were well into it, because I kind of figured that some of them were now seeing it, and they were seeing it themselves, and they were talking about it. So then I wanted to address it, but I was like, I didn't even want to talk about it because we addressed it right away last year, and then we just, if we were skittish because of it or scared or I don't know what the spotlight, I don't know what it was, the target on your back, I don't know, but things just didn't quite go. So I kind of avoided it and just worried about us in the building, right? Don't worry about the outside noise. They can say what they want, good or bad. We gotta get 1% better each and every day, and these girls personified that for most of the season, and it's a long season, and that can be really hard to do sometimes. And Abby Johnson did a good job of leading this year. Addie Twidwell, Kelsey Sorrell, Grace Miranowski was one that you don't see her in the stat sheet. You didn't see her on the court every night, but she was such a great leader on the bench, at practice, doing those team first things. That she's going to stand out to me probably for the rest of my coaching career as an example of how to be a team first player. That one was really special to me. Abby, again, 5 years in that varsity roster, changed positions through there, just a team first type of person. She played guard, she played point guard. We moved her off the ball. Now this year she's playing a 4, right? She's kind of technically playing the post for us, guarding the post for sure at times for us this year, and she initiated that. She wanted that. Abby was like, Coach, I think it'd be better if you let the younger guards come on and take it on, and I think I can help this team better in a different spot. And I said, Abby, for sure, we'll look into it. We'll see what we can do, and that's how it ended up going. So that was a really cool moment too of the teacher or the student becoming the teacher, right? And that was a really cool moment in my coaching career that I'll remember. Addie's progression throughout her career as a post player, and having that guidance from Grace as you kind of you look at a program and you hope that those traditions and those things get passed down, and that was cool. Grace and Addie having that relationship, and Yeah, and then of course you have the emergence of Parker and Jonico, who had been on the roster as 7th graders, but really showed up this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They really took those experiences from their 2 of his pre-years and now are ready to rock and roll. And I'm also going to say the 3rd guard too, because Emily Gowan was a heck of a player for us this year and is in that freshman class too. That's really improving and had a great season for us. So this year was just a really fun group of girls to coach. They were always energetic in the gym. They were always goofing around and having fun, but knew when to get serious and take practices and take it as a business trip on away games we'd always talk about or different things like that. So my time in Breckenridge is going to be, for me right now it's kind of bittersweet, right? But my time in Breckenridge is always going to be a one that sticks in my heart, and they gave me these opportunities as a young kid coming out of college and put their trust in me, and I hope I did the community well and the program well, and whoever gets it next, hopefully they carry it on too.
And we'll do this for the last question. If you had to nail down kind of one thing you're going to miss most about coaching these girls, what's it going to be?
Oh man, that's a tough one, Turner. There's just so many things. At the end of the day, I think it's the relationships that you build with the kids, and that's why that meeting at the end of the year is so difficult in telling them that news that you're leaving and those type of things, because you spend a lot of time with them in the gym in the summer, going to tournaments, going to games, bus rides. They kind of feel like my wife and I don't have kids yet, but they kind of feel like my children in a way. It's just you build that type of relationship with them, and that relationship, sharing that with Bogey and coaching with such great people along the way. That's the thing I'll remember the most is the kids, the parents, the families that have supported me and allowed me to be as successful as we were. It wouldn't be possible without any of them. So.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your time coming in. All the times you've come in, do interviews. All the time we did interviews with the newspaper. Very happy to see you coach in my hometown and do the program 5 really good years. So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Turner. Appreciate it.
And before we wrap it up, we'll do our Snap schedule reminder. There was supposed to be an indoor track meet at Concordia College today for both the Breckenridge and Wahpeton track teams, but due to the fact they did not have school today, they will not be making the trip to Moorhead for the meet. So on to games that are tentatively scheduled, weather permitting. NDSCS softball takes on University of Jamestown's JV at 3:30 and 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday. BW softball is scheduled to head to West Central area for a 5 p.m. game. Wahpeton baseball is at West Fargo Horace for 5 and 7 p.m. games. Wednesday has NDSCS baseball at Central Lakes College Brainerd at 2 and 4 p.m. Thursday, the Wahpeton track team has their EDC indoor meet in Grand Forks. NDSCS baseball takes on Lake Region State College in Miles City at 1 and 3 p.m. NDSCS softball also in Miles City taking on Lake Region State College, and those games are at 1 and 4 p.m. And then Breckenridge baseball hosts West Central area at 5 p.m. Once again, these are all weather permitting. And that is a look at your Snap schedule reminder, and that will do it for another Snap Spotlight. Thank you all so much for tuning into this series. I've had an absolute blast bringing in all these interviews, and I've been getting some great feedback from people who watch them or listen to them. If you didn't know, we put this on our YouTube channel, KBMW News Live. You can watch the interview for yourself. And now for a quick word from our sponsor.
Snap Fitness, your locally owned gym in Wahpeton, wants to have you join their workout family. Snap offers personal training, and owner Renata Fobb will even write up workout plans for you. If you're an athlete in the Twin Towns, Snap Fitness will help you make sure you're prepared for the upcoming sports season. To all the retired athletes over 65, Snap Fitness participates in the Silver Sneakers Insurance Program, and most major insurances reimburse for memberships to Snap. Stop by Snap Fitness today and ask about their membership packages. They're located at 102 7th Street South in Wahpeton.